Hey guys, my name is Bando, this is Brexit Bando, and I'm going to be talking about the heresy again today. And this time it's not news or drama, but instead 100% my opinion, which is absolutely worthless. But I just wanted to ramble, because I know some of you appreciate that, and I appreciate you appreciating me. You people confuse me. Right, legacies of the Age of Darkness. So Legacies PDFs have been a thing since I think about 8th edition, where Games Workshop likes to come along and decide to refresh their range by getting rid of a load of stuff that we used to be able to use, and then telling us, oh no, you can still use your games, use your models, just not in tournaments, and they won't get any updates. And I want to talk about how I feel that the Legacies of the Age of Darkness entries are some of the most thematic, fluffy, and interesting units in the game. And that if you're not using them in your games and in your armies, I think you're doing yourself a major disservice. So what I have here is the Legacies of the Age of Darkness PDF. This used to be able to get from Forge World, but every single link I can find from Forge World goes to a 403 Forbidden page, which is rather interesting. So to start off, we have a table of contents, and in here we have all of the different specific units, the agents of the Emperor, the Knights Errant. Surprisingly, in here we only have Nathaniel Garrow and Tylus Rubio. Before, we used to have a straight up blank Knights Errant, and you used to be able to customize them in any way, shape or form. You wanted a missile launcher carrying jump pack using librarian, this was the guy to do it. And the Knights Errant really have kind of disappeared from this edition of Heresy. Garrow turning up at the siege, I think, is pretty much the only kind of interesting thing, other than them kind of disappearing to Titan to go found the Grey Knights. Then we have an expanded Legions Astartes list, and in here we have some of the most interesting units ever. The Primus Nullificator console. During the Heresy, the Legions Astartes became aware of demons. And while very early on in their Heresy they believed that they may be some sort of Xenos life form, there were certain members of the Astartes who realised quite quickly what they were dealing with, and they realised that new tactics and ways of fighting were required. One of these was Aenid Thiel, the Ultramarines, who learnt very quickly that they died much quicker to blades and fire than they did to bolters and Volkite weapons. The Primus Nullificator is a character who specialises in killing demons, and that's something that you wouldn't normally see in a standard Heresy list. Next we have the Warmonger console. Now, in Heresy 1.0, the Warmonger was special because it was one of the easiest and only ways to give deep strike to a unit. And it was quite interesting because there was a lot of really cool tactics that involved putting this guy in with different units that couldn't normally deep strike. Then we have the Nullificator squad, a Terminator squad that is specialised in combating demons. They go along with the Primus Nullificator, and they carry, specialised melee weapons. They carry flamers and all sorts of weird and wonderful, interesting things to make them dangerous to demons. Pardon me. And they are available both to loyalists and traitor forces. Maybe you're a word-bearer force who doesn't quite trust their never-born allies. Maybe you're a unit of Iron Hands who has seen the horrors of war and are adapting to fight these new enemies. Maybe you're an Iron Warrior and you're out hunting things to power tanks. Interesting and a really, really quite dangerous unit if you put them together correctly. The Legion Castaferum Dreadnought. Everybody loves the old box Naught, and back in first edition, you could even give it a Volkite Culverin, or two of them actually. They sadly lost that ability in this edition, but they do have some fantastic weapons, and one of these with a pair of Mortis las cannons. It's quite a nasty little gun platform. The Sparta attack bike squadron is pretty much what you'd expect from an attack bike, but in the Heresy they can also take autocannons, which is kind of cool. I have 3 autocannon attack bikes in my Sons of Horus. And while we haven't got plastic outriders yet, when we do, this will be a great time to bring Sparta attack bikes back into the main rules. The Tarantula sentry gun battery. Tarantulas are semi-autonomous deployed gun batteries, and for Astartes forces that don't have access to the resources, maybe they're missing their heavy weapon squads, they've lost them, maybe they don't have any vehicles, maybe you're doing an army that is laying in ambush. The Tarantula sentry gun was a ubiquitous piece of Imperial hardware that could be used to set up fantastic ambushes with heavy bolters, with multi-melters, with las cannons, Hyperius missile launcher sets. Now, I don't think they get access to all of that nowadays. I think it's just las cannons and heavy bolters now. But even that, it's quite an interesting addition to making a more thematic list. Terminator Indomitus squad. Now this one hurts because I have an entire Indomitus pattern army, including all the characters, and they've lost access to that armour, to be replaced by a single troops entry, the Terminator Indomitus squad, that allows them to take a few options, but not many. We've lost access to things like the Volkite pistols, and we've lost, a whole slew of things for the characters, but you can still take them with shields and hammers and fists and lightning claws and combi bolters, and they're a troops choice. Non-compulsory, but still just a regular troops choice. Plus, with the new Leviathan scale Terminators, they look fantastic. And I believe they did change the fluff to make them far more prevalent during the Heresy. Originally it was just during the Siege they turned up, but now they turn up a bit earlier in the Heresy as well. I'll put these 3 together: the Avenger Strike Fighter, the Thunderbolt Fighter, and the Primus Lightning Strike Fighter. 3 flyers from Forge World that are all really interesting kits. Have you got Imperial Navy attachments to your force? Are your guys basing their attacks out of some sort of spaceborne battle group? Not everything is a Xiphon Interceptor. And you have 3 really interesting looking models. The Avenger Strike Fighter kind of channeling some sort of weird mashup of an A-10 and a dive bomber. The Thunderbolt is one of the most iconic flyers in 30 and 40k. And the Primaris Lightning Strike Fighter, while not as pretty as the original Lightning Strike Fighter, is a very good platform for the points you pay for it. The Land Raider Phobos and the Land Raider Achilles. 2 more Land Raiders. Now the Phobos is just the standard Mars pattern 40k Land Raider. It's identical to the regular Land Raider. So it didn't really need an entry here. The Achilles, however, does have some different weapons, and I think this game is sorely missing variants for the Land Raider. I think the Land Raider needs to get way more weapons, way more options, and be much more interesting as an entry. It's a great platform. It's a great platform for modelling, and I think being able to get more sponsons, armoured sponsons, to get the Thunder Frag, I think it is Thunder Frag cannon for it, that sits on the Achilles, really, really important. And it's so sad that this kind of limitation has been placed upon us. The Basilisk and Medusa squadrons. The Legion Basilisk and Medusa squadrons were very, very good until 2nd edition. And now they're awful. And they had some very interesting models. They were like a Rhino basis with those weapons, and it was good because it tied back into like 3rd edition when the Iron Warriors were able to take things like basilisks. Well, why would a Space Marine, Chaos Space Marine Legion have access to basilisks? Well, they used to back in 30k. The Legion Whirlwind's a bit weird because we have the Scorpius, and it was just having another Whirlwind. But choice is choice. And I think it's nice to have a different option. However, nowadays you could just run a regular Mars pattern Whirlwind as the Scorpius. The Kestis Assault Ram is one that always hurts because it's such a unique looking vehicle. And it's such a cool idea of this giant brick of a spaceship just ploughing into targets and then slapping down its assault ramp and disgorging Terminators or, veterans or whatever. Centaur bombs. But it is a horrible model to build, apparently, and it was quite expensive. The Malkador Assault Tank. A lot of these things were available to the Marines alongside the Solar Auxiliary and the Militia. And it's such a pity because it really shows a wide gamut and sort of desperation to the Space Marines Legion. Same with things like the Minotaur and the Stormblade. These are all sorts of things that were used by more mortal forces, but suddenly, the Astartes are like, we're running out of tanks, we need weapons. Let's skip through the rest of these, because they're all kind of the same thing, I'm going to say. That being said, the Legion Macarius heavy tank is something I absolutely want to add to my Raven Guard. Legion-specific units. Deathwing Terminator Cataphractii Companions and Tartarus Companions. The Deathwing Companions are a great thematic unit. Bodyguards who paint their armour white when they receive a mortal blow that was intended for their charge. But why on earth would you not be able to get Terminator variants for which they are most famously known as being a Terminator unit? The Incendio Battle Automata, the biggest, nastiest robot on the planet that is actually a robot. It's got its own mind. It is artificial intelligence, and they're only allowed out when things have gone really bad. Or check more. Shadrach Medjison. Aster Crone. The Honoured Telemarchus. Here you go. An Ultramarines HQ unit that's a Dreadnought. The Ultramarines have 2 units here. Fulmentaris Terminators. Heavy weapons Terminators with missile launchers. And back in 1st edition we're also allowed to take things like Reaper autocannons. They were big, they were slow, and they were really dangerous. But it was Rabute Gilliman. He saw what the Iron Warriors were doing and went, that works, but I can improve on it. The Locutarus Storm Squad. An elite veteran assault squad. They could take power swords, legatine axes, plasma pistols, hand flamers. Cassian Dracos. Cassian Dracos is a dreadnought who builds a religion around himself and converts traitors back to the loyalist side. That's cool. That's awesome. He had a brilliant model from Forge World, and we lost it. Salamanders don't have enough stuff. They don't have enough stuff for you to be taking that and Chaplain Nomus Ryten away. Give them back. Moritat Prime, Cadus next. For the Raven Guard. I mean, it's the Raven Guard. Who else is going to run a Moritat? A gun-slinging, shadow-walking, jetpack-wearing, gunslinger's fantastic. Rillinor the Unyielding. We all know Rillinor. Why not let us run him? The problem is that a lot of these entries here are... It all boils down to Games Workshop's silly no mini, no rules policy. We don't want someone else making these models, so we're not going to do it ourselves. Well, spoiler alert, people have. People have made models for every single one of these. And That being said, they've gone back and they've started making models themselves. You know, and I think that a lot of this is... I don't really want to show the rules off themselves because you know what Games Workshop's like. But I think that a lot of these things, there is so much depth here to legions who have had nothing. You know, Iron Warriors have had so few releases. Iron Hands have had so few releases. Salamanders, World Eaters, you know, the Alpha Legion haven't had that, you know, that much stuff. The Reaver Aggressor Squad, for example, right here. This is just a Reaver squad that can take jump packs. It doesn't need its own entry. You could just let Reavers take jump packs. And then sell a box of jump packs. There is a problem here from GW themselves. Back in the day, they were much more friendly to kit bashing, to people taking things and mixing them with other kits to make something new. You used to get articles in White Dwarf where it would go, here's a thing that someone's made, here are the parts they used, here are the codes that you can use to phone up mail order and say, I would like one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these. Sometimes they even bundled them all together at a slight discount and gave you a code for that so you could order the converted model yourself. People will buy from Games Workshop. People are happy to buy from Games Workshop. In fact, I know a lot of people who would rather buy legitimate models from Games Workshop than they would buy from recasters or print. And these are people who are doggedly in the in the camp of 3D printing and recasters. But they would rather support GW if they felt there was a bit of honesty and like respect coming the other way. There is no reason that you shouldn't be able to buy a box of Reavers and have a little tick box next to it that says £10, add 5 jump packs to it. That's it. I mean, that's expensive, but who cares? You know, £5, add 5 jump packs to it, whatever. You're making those 5 jump packs, you're going to cast them up anyway in resin. Might as well send them out with it. You have a whole list here of models you could make and release without ever having to put pen to paper and think about coming up with a new idea. No need to do anything. Literally just go, cool, here's a number from 1 to 100 for these things. We're going to roll a dice and see which ones we're making today. Oh, cool, we're doing Rillanor. You know, let's release Rillanor. There we go. If you haven't had a chance to have a look at the Legacies Age of Darkness document, I strongly recommend getting your hands on it and having a look through it. Same with the what are they called? Something battles. I can't remember. Exemplary battles. If you haven't had a chance to look through those as well, try to get your hands on those documents. Come join us on Discord. We've got guys here who've got them. I'm sure they'll be happy to share them out to you. What I'd like to see, especially from you guys in the Discord, is have you made models for any of these? If you have, come over to Discord and share them with us, because I'd love to see them. In fact, I would love to see if anyone who's done anything from this list, characters, tanks, aircraft, squads, share them in Discord, and I'd love to do a video where I sort of, you know, looked at them and reviewed them and whatever. And I'll throw some pictures of some of the stuff I've done on the end here, of my own, of some of these. Thanks guys, my name is Bando, this is Brexit Bando. It's a bit of a boring video I know, and I apologise, but I wanted to make sure you guys had something today. Have a great day, bye bye.